The most difficult part about landscape photography isn't about the things that we can control, like finding location or figuring out what type of gear to bring, but instead, the things we can't control, like the weather. And these next couple of shoots really push my buttons on this in particular. Luckily for this shoot, we had some beautiful weather with the sun beaming bright without any overcast. And normally, this is what I'm striving for when capturing my landscapes.
So we have another like 14-ish minutes, give or take, until the sun fully goes down. And that's when I'll start capturing a bunch of these photos. Right now I have a 10-stop filter on there, and I've been getting like 90 to 120 second long exposures. And I feel like that's pretty long. So I might go down to 6-stop and see how that looks.
For this shot, I mainly focus on the cliffside in the background with these flowers in the foreground. Since I'm so high up and at a park, it's difficult to get a clean image of just the cliffside, and having these flowers adds a beautiful element to the foreground. I took a couple of different versions of this cliffside as the light changed and ended up with this image. The light was gorgeous as a sunset with soft light and beautiful pink and blue hues. This image was more of a test of composition to me, and thankfully, composition is something that I can control. And when you get both the controllables and the uncontrollables to align is when great photos can be taken. Then shortly after, I moved to the other side and captured a quick snapshot of this cliffside with a bunch of different houses and textures of the cliffside itself. These photos came out amazing, and I was incredibly happy that everything worked out perfectly. Unfortunately, for my next shoot, I can't say the same thing. I originally wanted to come to Shaw's Cove in the morning because the sun will usually set behind the cliffside, causing an overly harsh light. So I figured if I came in the morning, we wouldn't have that issue. And well, we didn't, mainly because the sun was nowhere to be found. It was as overcast as it could have possibly been. The heavy marine layer made the lighting super flat and unpleasant, which sucked because we woke up at 4 a.m. just to capture this beach, and obviously the weather and lighting just isn't something that can be controlled. Like, why can't I just turn the sun on or get a big fan to push out this huge marine layer? It's incredibly frustrating, but when I'm in a situation like this, the only thing that I can do is make do with what I have. So instead of trying to capture the lighting, I shifted my focus to the waves and the water that came in. It was high tide that morning, which caused the waves to be violent as they crashed against the rocks and shoreline. And since they were moving so fast, I used short 1-second exposures to showcase the ocean and its violent tendencies. I captured around 60 photos in total, as it was impossible to predict how the water will look against the rocks. And even though I came to this beach for a totally different vibe in mind, I came out with photos that I'm very happy with.
I'm absolutely cooked. Absolutely cooked, chat. The pants are absolutely soaked. You can't even tell that it's a different color, but because the whole thing is wet. Look at that, that's the dry, that's the wet. Actually, in terms of our photography, even though we are absolutely soaked, I thought we got some pretty good photos. I really like having these waves come in, and there's a lot of them, and they're pretty violent, so I was able to get a lot of movement inside of these photos that I was actually quite happy with. As you can see, the light is extremely flat, and that was my main concern coming here from driving over. It started drizzling at some point, so I feel like the weather today was just not on our side, not what we expected. But hey, the photos speak for themselves, and I'm actually pretty happy with them. So on to the next location.
If this park looks familiar to you, it's probably because you've seen one of my other videos. But today, there is just one photo that I wanted to take of the LA skyline way out in the distance. And as you can see, that skyline just doesn't exist. And normally on a nice day where the weather is clear, you'd probably be able to see it from out here. But there is just no way to get a sharp photo from this distance, especially when using a telephoto lens, and with me being so far from my subject, getting that sharp, crystal clear detail from this far away is just simply impossible. But I'm just gonna wait and see what the sunset actually looks like, and if anything at all out there in the distance is able to appear, whether it's the LA lights or just hopefully it clears up, but honestly, I'm really doubtful that it will. The sun kept going down and down without any sign that the skyline would appear, so I settled for capturing this image of the sun setting. You can see the amount of haze that we were dealing with and how difficult capturing the skyline would be. It's tough because LA deals with a lot of pollution, which causes the atmospheric conditions to be harsher from longer distances. But at the end of the day, weather simply isn't something that can be controlled, which is why what makes a great landscape photographer isn't waiting for the perfect conditions to go out and take photos. It's about making the best with what you have and taking gorgeous photos regardless of what the weather looks like. That is the freeway, and oh my gosh, look, it is rush hour right now. Imagine getting home at this time. I mean, that is insane. The light is already down. But for me, we are still up here shooting, and that LA skyline definitely didn't come out, and I'm not that hopeful that it will, so I'm probably gonna head back. But thank you so much for watching this video. I'm actually pretty happy with the photos we got, especially at that beach. I think it was beautiful, that water coming in, and you can just see it was such a moody day. I think it was just a really interesting environment to be in to capture those beautiful beach landscapes. So thank you so much for experiencing the role with me today. Please feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.